Lynn, Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. At about lunchtime, dropping my kid off, and I had a chance to play with GPT chat like the rest of the world over the past week or so. And I have, asked it to write stories. One of them I put on my homepage, mikelev.in. It has some interesting utility. Most of the questions being asked are about whether GPT-3 or GPT chat or GPT-4 or any of these variations is going to replace humans in whatever field, writing, storytelling. And I do have to say that its, technical execution of things like storytelling is quite good, better than most humans. These are skills that if you've never worked on them, you don't have them. These are muscles which, when not developed and exercised, how well can the average person just tell a story? It's like saying, hey, tell me a joke. Most people could maybe tell you one or two jokes that they can remember, but this is where computers shine. They have this endless ability to, use perfect syntax and form, to follow rules precisely, and to have access to enormous amounts of input data. It can read as examples more than you could ever read in your life as examples. So it has an edge up on you just based on how much it has looked at in preparation. Now, it's not life experience, it's just pure, more of whatever input type as you're training the model with. So more writing, more pictures. And so definitely a humbling experience, but I think it must be along the lines of what artists felt when photography came on the scene, just because certain technical aspects of a task can be done not many times better, not many hundreds of times better, but many thousands of times better and faster than the traditional tools. Doesn't invalidate the traditional tools. So, photography, if you're talking photorealistic representation, it's no understatement that photographs are thousands of times, more effective or faster in capturing a photorealistic image than a human being would be painting it with paints and pigments and stuff. So we're definitely in a new age on those fronts, that it's commonly made available now. Now, I think it's not going to remain so readily available and free. I think this was a testing period by OpenAI, because as quick as it was up for these 2 weeks of free training, it got taken down. I have to check it to see if GPT chat is back up. They had a message about how it was overwhelmed, and they even had a poem written by GPT chat about what's going on with them. So all that referential meta stuff, self-referential. So instead of getting all verklempt about the rise of machines and that AI is on its way, which is the temptation, because these are new demonstrations than what we've seen before. It makes it feel very real when it's sitting in there in your web browser and you're having this conversation, or it's telling you stories effectively from extremely limited input. Instead of getting all verklempt about that, I am going to shift my focus to the tools used to still be in charge of the machines. Not everything is going to be AI systems. Not everything is going to be controlled with verbal instructions. Not all coding is going to be done by asking a machine to do it first. I believe that if you focus on being able to express yourself well, effectively, and maybe tease out the intent, your vision to sort of, do multiple passes to sort of flesh out an idea. If you get good at doing that in both the spoken language, English in my case, but, the same thing that GPT chat's making such a big deal about. Work on your writing skills. Work on exactly those same writing skills that OpenAI must be doing, because that's your communication ability. And you have a voice that is going to be very difficult to exactly reproduce by machine learning systems. And that is the unique value that you bring to the picture on the creative front with the spoken word. Now, the other one is the coding word. Now, one might think coding is more machine-like. Machines are good at it, so why not leave all the coding to machines? That misses a large part of the point that comes from expressiveness. When you're coding, when you're using a programming language, you actually are expressing yourself very similarly as you do with a spoken language. And there is nuance, and there is, subtle intent. And the machine might be able to do it, but only, again, where, the knowledge of perfect form and best practices and following what everyone else has done quadrillion times in the examples is the purpose. If you're trying to do something unique for the first time, creative, well, the machine learning might have a difficult. So go deep, deep learning, deep thought. Came up with strategies that surprised the Go champions as being creative, as requiring something we would call inspiration, perchance even initiative. How true that is might be the thrust of the continuously evolving Turing tests, because the Turing test, in the vague original way as it was expressed by Alan Turing, these chatbots are passing given a dumb interviewer, giving interviewers who are ready to see what they're talking to as self-aware. Now, with a little bit of cleverness in your questioning, stuff to really trying to produce initiative, trying to produce random, trying to produce unlikely associations, juxtapositions, all these other things that humans are good at doing. That will be the part of the new thrust of the evolving Turing test, because the original one has to be thrown out the window, or else machines are sentient, and we got to start thinking about them giving them human rights, not turning them off, because it would be immoral. Not doing a hard reset, how you do a hard reset on your phone and wipe out all its memory. That kind of action on an AI system might be unethical. I think that OpenAI is trumping Google's similar systems, because they have more gumption in putting it out for public interaction, public review, public consumption. Whereas when Google did that, even with just internal people, it caused controversy because one of those AI specialists saw sentience in their chatbot. So imagine how much worse that would be if that happened with something Google made available to the public for use, right? In my talks with GPT chat, I started asking it about the suppression of free energy. My timing was super interesting. I should make some sort of bigger deal about that, because I believe the day I was trying to get GPT chat to fess up about the suppression of free energy, the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, lasers, and more lasers, announced announced that they got more energy out of a fusion reaction than the energy they put into it at the target. Now, you know, all the energy that went into all these hundreds of lasers pointing into it was in fact more total energy. And I believe they're only measuring the energy that, you know, was right there at the target laser. So there's a lot of refinement, a lot of engineering feats to wrangle this stuff to be some sort of, you know, energy power plant, right? What we're talking about here, because the Lawrence Livermore version of fusion is the star in a jar version. Not the most popular version out there, because, you know, a star in a jar is one of the hardest ways to get this going. Although they do appear to be using these little pellets that they would probably send in one after another to keep the reaction going. So it's still kind of an injection system, a fuel injection system, which is some of the other fusion approaches. But GPT chat shut up about it after it started fessing up to some of the more popular conspiracy theories that were out there. I asked it about anti-gravity tech and the same question. It started having network problems, and then after it had started doing a perfectly good story, it then knew nothing about the subject. So it went from story being spun, freezing in the middle, network problems, to I know nothing about this topic. There's nothing to see here. Move along. And that's a little bit suspicious. And then the next day, GPT-3 got taken down, or GPT chat got taken down, for them to sort of catch up with all the training. So anyway, I thought I'd share that interesting tidbit. So I'll keep you informed. The adventures are really interesting.